Hey, sexy bitch.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Life is a science fiction thriller starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Ryan Reynolds, and Rebecca Ferguson. No, this isn't a remake or a reimagining of the 1999 Eddie Murphy film, Life with Martin Lawrence. That movie has the same name, but don't expect to see Eddie Murphy fighting over some cornbread in space or anything crazy like that. But you can expect to see 6 astronauts that aboard a space station and they discover something we've all been wondering since pretty much the dawn of human history. They discover new life. They discover life in a galaxy far, far away. They discover extraterrestrial life on Mars. These members of the space station, they find this new life force. They name it Calvin. The astronauts conduct research on Calvin, gather data, and all that science mumbo-jumbo I don't even really understand, but it makes for an entertaining movie. They realize Calvin is evolving rapidly and gaining strength and learning at a very alarming rate. It turns out Calvin's life may be more intelligent and terrifying than anyone could have ever imagined. If this movie feels really familiar to you, it just might, because many people saw this trailer and said to themselves, why are they reenacting the movie Aliens? While watching this movie from just the trailer alone, pretty much, you feel a vibe of other science fiction films you may have seen before. And while watching this, I constantly kept saying to myself, a list of all the movies that kind of remind me of this movie, Life. It reminds me of Alien, Splice, Gravity, Cloverfield, The Fly, Ex Machina, Apollo 18, Predator, and The Thing. There are a lot of films that, follow this blueprint, but this formula pretty much. In my opinion, even Ridley Scott, the director of Prometheus and Aliens, is starting to reenact his own movies. Even the movie Alien isn't the first movie of its kind. The whole finding a new life or whatever, and it turns out to be really dangerous, that goes, way, way back in movie history. This film has been advertising itself like it's, how can I put this, like a science fiction and a thriller movie. However, it is more than that. It's a creature feature, a thriller, a science fiction film, a B-movie, and a horror movie. Now, when Calvin is a baby, the scientists and the astronauts, they attach themselves to it. As baby, Calvin is, really, really small, looks like a little flower, and looks like a little chia pet. But with most of these types of films, you see the scientist playing with something that looks really intimidating, like something in Splice, and you're like, dude, these scientists should know better. But Calvin, he honestly seems really harmless when he starts out. Like the astronauts, they're working through glass, they have goggles, gloves, and they're really safe around Calvin for something that looks like a little sperm in an ashtray. You have this one character named Hugh Derry, played by Ariyon, Bakare. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. I know he was in the movie Jupiter Ascending and The Dark Knight. He studies Calvin, but also bonds with it. He seems like he truly is almost in love with Calvin. But Hugh keeps mentioning how Calvin keeps growing and gaining muscle, and he's really intelligent. But that bonding time comes to a stop when baby Calvin breaks Hugh's hand. When his hand becomes broken, it's really nasty to see. You hear bones crackle, fingers pop, and it sounds like somebody just jumped on a bag of potato chips. It's almost like arm wrestling with a fish stick and losing. But from that point, the science fiction film beautifully transitions into a horror and creature feature movie. I know most movies like this do not have the best character development. However, this movie could have used just a little bit more character development. We learn little details about our characters through little lines of dialogue. For instance, Jake Gyllenhaal is in this film, and his character, he seems very much like a loner. And he says in the movie how he never belonged on Earth and how he likes the hum of space more than the noise of Earth. Ryan Reynolds is also in this film. His character is the one character I didn't really feel all that much of a connection towards. The only thing we really know about his character is, he wants to really kill Calvin once he starts realizing how dangerous this thing is. And he's not even really a scientist, actually. He's actually the plumber. So, meaning when the astronauts use the bathroom and you have all that feces, all that stool.
My name's Peter, and I work in the brewery. Now I'm going to pull on my pants and go talk to my co-workers that these pants have stool in them.
Floating around on the ship, Ryan Reynolds is just there to fix the toilet and dispose of the waste. But speaking of Ryan Reynolds, this movie is from the same director as Safe House, which also had Ryan Reynolds. I didn't really like the movie Safe House, honestly, but I'm glad the director worked with Ryan Reynolds again, because in my opinion, Ryan Reynolds was actually one of the better things about Safe House. Also, even though the alien Calvin is our biggest threat in the movie, there is another threat that is just as scary. The threat of being, the threat being the elements of space. This movie, much like Gravity, shows the audience how horrifying outer space can really be. Yeah, it's all fun when you're, bouncing around, no gravity, but that can be a little scary after a while. Gravity plays a horror role in this movie. Like, Calvin grows up to pretty much be like a stingray that can easily glide through space. He's made for this type of environment, but us humans, we are not. And that was really scary to see. While the astronauts have difficulty moving around and getting where they need to go in a quick manner and adapting to their surroundings. Also, Calvin was made for this environment, like I previously mentioned. And also another thing that was really scary to see, once our resources run out in space, we might as well consider ourselves dead. We have a lack of oxygen, limited oxygen, it is very cold, and there is even a scene where someone drowns in their suit, their astronaut suit, and their helmet floods with a harmful liquid. And really about 95% of this movie takes place in outer space, in the space station, which also creates some claustrophobic environment as well. So overall, these characters have more than just Calvin to deal with. This is just a small nitpick, but I never liked CGI blood. And it's not just this movie, it's pretty much all movies that use CGI blood. Like, how can I put this? I have not seen one film that has convincing CGI blood. I am a strong believer of blood needs to be practical. I understand that this movie is in space and blood needs to float around, but nevertheless the blood it didn't look convincing at all to me. Even though this film could have been more original, it is very effective and holds your attention. I was really surprised how much I enjoyed it, and I think a lot of people are enjoying it as well. It is suspenseful, it had a really good surprise ending that really caught me off guard, but my biggest problem with the movie is it could have been just a little bit more original. It takes the best parts out of movies I mentioned earlier, like Splice, Gravity, and The Thing, and they make that their movie. I really want to give this movie a perfect rating. I had fun, it was entertaining, and I personally had a blast. On the other hand, in order for me to give it a perfect rating, it would have to be just a little bit more original. All of that being said, I believe the 2017 science fiction movie Life earns a 9.5 out of 10. So those are my thoughts on the movie Life. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would appreciate it if you give it a like. You can also check out other reviews and other topics in movie news right here on this channel. Feel free to check it out. And also feel free to to subscribe if you like me or want to see more of me, if you're the one person who wants to do that. That being said, thank you all so much for checking out this video. I hope you all have an amazing day as always, and see you in the next video.